Well, hello and welcome, awesome students, to week 8 of Abnormal Psychology. This is Dr. J. I'm excited. I know I'm excited every week, right? But I'm excited because this is week 8, right? This is sadly our last week together, but I am excited to finish a class, of course, and is certainly excited to finish class with you all, knowing that for most of you, you're just starting your program, just maybe starting your first couple of classes here on campus, but often starting your journey in the psychology program. That's an exciting time. And a fun fact to that, as I mentioned to you before, every faculty here teaches a number of classes, but one of the classes that I teach most often, one of my passions to teach, has been Psych 491, which is Psychology and Social Identity, which is the last course you'll take. So it will certainly be fantastic if I get to see you guys again at the end of the journey. So hang in there. As I know some of you had a little bit of a tough time over the last few weeks, it will get easier, but take a lot of the tips, insights, tricks, whatever that you've learned in this class. I tend to push students sometimes a little bit, but I like to put a lot of knowledge and content and some helpful tips in there. And if you stay on track using good research, implement some of those thoughts and ideas, those tips that I've shared along the way, it will help you tremendously throughout your program. You'll definitely be one step ahead in many of your classes. And I gotta be honest, even in some cases, I'm hitting some of those students differently and challenging them even in the last class of the program, where some students are still off on their research and things of that nature. And so just get it now. It'll help you tremendously. And a lot of the things that I like to set up for students is, here's what you need to do and learn, so you just keep getting better and better at it, because the real challenges in terms of writing and references and research and that kind of stuff really kicks in higher in graduate school. And so if you're on track with it now, you're going to be light years ahead in the future. So just take in those tips and take those insights in as you progress through the program, and this will just become easier and easier for you as you go. But before we celebrate, we certainly got to wrap up and finish up the class this week. I do want to talk about a couple of housekeeping tips. Make sure 100% that you are done and complete with the course no later than Sunday at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Get everything in. Gang, do not wait until the last minute by any means. In fact, get done early this week, because it gives you some extra time, gives you a break before you start your next class. It gives you a nice little buffer zone. So get done sooner rather than later. Your next course is available right now if you haven't taken a look at it in your dashboard, but certainly wrap this course up, get it done, get it off your plate before you even take a look at that. That'll do yourself even a better service there. But nonetheless, we're going to dive in this week as we're going to talk about some things such as boundaries, ethics, and professionalism, a couple things related to our industry. But before we touch on that, we're going to talk a little bit about abnormality from some different perspectives this week, particularly in the discussion board. And then, of course, we're going to talk about some of those ethical considerations, boundaries, things of that nature. This is a fantastic industry to work in. It gives you an opportunity to get close and connected with people, and you get to hear their deep, dark secrets. But sometimes there's, some boundaries and some things you got to keep at the forefront in your practice, and it's good to start taking note of that now. And we're going to talk a little bit about personality disorders as they compare to other diagnoses. I know we've been talking about that for a while. I think that's mostly a recap, but make sure you go through some of this stuff so you know what to expect. And the readings this week are very diverse. I got to tell y'all, when you go through a lot of this stuff, in addition to the abnormal psychology stuff, we're going to be talking about boundaries, we're talking about some different disorders, the stigmas related to mental health. We're going to talk about careers in psychology. We're going to talk about career options. So go through these readings, because this is going to give you a wide variety of things to look at and consider. As I know a number of you are at the start of your program, you've not really decided what you're going to do, where you're going to go. I got to tell you, there's a lot of students are like, here's what I'm going to do. A couple of years from now, you might be going in a different direction as you learn about something new, and that's great, but take time to go through some of these materials, gang, so you can see some of the options that are out there, and it gives you an opportunity to fine-tune your major or think about a research project you want to do later. Got a lot of stuff in front of you, so that's all good. I do want to talk about some things related to research, and this will help this week. This link, by the way, if you don't have this and have this bookmark, I forget about this page often. Where did it go? Where did it go? It's right here. Module 8 activity. I do forget about this page from our library, which is really a lot of the stuff I've been talking about the last couple weeks in terms of research. If you ever have problems finding articles, it's probably because you're looking in the wrong places. I mean, that's the gist of it, because particularly when we're talking about mental health, psych articles on EBSCOhost has all the APA journals in it. And so when you go into EBSCOhost, you can go specifically into psych articles, you can access all those. But these are all fantastic psychology resources. If you're doing most of your searches in the Shapiro Library using the library databases, you're going to access all of this stuff kind of in one place, and it'll give you an opportunity to find really high quality research. Get comfortable using these tools, these search tools in the library, because it's just going to make it easier for you. I promise you, if you master the research part, it is all downhill from there, because you have quality research to start with, plethora of articles to find, you'll be good to go. So let me jump over and talk about the discussions this week, as we're talking about varying levels of sensitivity when we're talking about boundaries. Okay, so as you get to know people in therapy, as you interact with people, I worked a lot with kids in a residential program, and certainly the boundaries thing was always a challenge. In residential programs, the lines are blurred a little bit because the kids live there. So things like hugs and stuff like that is very common when you work in residential programs that you might not have normally in clinical practice. Just sitting with a child on their bed, for example, reading them a story is incredibly common in a residential program, but might not be in a normal clinic where you see kids. And so these are some of the things that's talked about in the materials this week: setting up those professional boundaries, maintaining those boundaries, having those connections, and understanding where you draw the line and some of the things that you need to be aware of. And so make sure, read through this stuff thoroughly. There's a couple of things I know on the reading assignments this week that talk about boundaries and things of that nature, but I gotta tell you, you're gonna be pressed and pushed and pulled and twisted as you move through the program and through your career on this kind of stuff. So start to learn about it now, and you'll be well on your way. By the way, if I didn't already say this, it's a light week. Get your stuff done early. I didn't say the light week part earlier, but get your stuff done early. There's no sense in stringing this out through the whole week, gang, because you're gonna find that the assignments this week are significantly less time consuming than what you've experienced. So just get it done, don't wait, and then enjoy your time off. The journal activity this week is to just discuss a couple of different things from different perspectives. And so as we typically look at mental health, yes or no, is this a diagnosis? Is this clinical, yes or no? We're going to look at things from a little bit of a different perspective this week as we consider the non-pathology side of things we might see, of symptomology, which is interesting to say that as students come into the program and they take that abnormal class for the first time and they think to themselves, there's like 5 different disorders they probably have, and all of their friends got a dozen more, and they start diagnosing everybody in their life. And I'm not saying you do or you don't, or you're right or you're wrong. All I'm saying is we have a tendency to over-pathologize things of this nature, especially when we're learning about it. And so this gives you an opportunity to explore things from a little bit of a different perspective this week in a journal. As you do know, Journals are a little bit more free form. I'm okay with that, and that's why I want to encourage you guys to get done sooner rather than later this week, because this is just kind of that thing that you can put together in a couple of hours, and the discussion posts, again, are pretty easy too. Don't forget to do your replies this week, and you can knock it all out well before the end of the week. Now, there is one other sort of assignment here, and I really want to plant the seed with you guys because I have some good insights on where this is headed in your program. Students in the psychology program, and really this is just a great tool career-wise, is set up something called an e-portfolio. This is really, if you can imagine, just a portfolio, like a photo portfolio. You might have an artist portfolio with all these samples. This is sort of what you would have in digital format. You should have all received some information on that. If not, there's some great information here. Career Services is the real expert on this, and this is giving you an idea of the types of materials that you will typically put in your e-portfolio. Now, I've seen students set these up on Google Sites. I've also seen students set these up on a WordPress. Excuse me, you can set them up inside of Brightspace. Here has an e-portfolio tool as well, and you can use any one you choose. Now, the WordPress option I would not recommend if you don't have some comfortable or familiarity with the technical stuff. It's not hard at all. If you're familiar with WordPress, it's super easy. You can set up an e-portfolio. It's something you can always transition to later. Google Sites, I think, typically look the best. The tools and resources within Brightspace are the easiest to use. So it's kind of your choice as to how you want to frame this, but an e-portfolio is hugely valuable. Get comfortable, get working with it as you progress through the program, add the materials in there. This is the kind of thing that it's not any extra work except for like 15, 20, 30 minutes at the end of each class to put a few things together. If you do this, you will be leaps and bounds ahead of many of your peers who tend to put these things off and wait till the last minute. Then they're in their last class and they're spending hours and hours and hours to do this. So heed my advice, put this stuff together early. Take a look at this. This is not anything you're turning in this week. This is just to plant a seed and give you some information to work on as you move forward throughout the program. And you will be creating this as you go, and we'll be taking a look at it at the end, I can assure you. So nonetheless, gang, it was a pleasure working with you over the last 7+ weeks as we are gearing up toward that end of week 8. I should have your grades completed by something like, Monday, Tuesday next week. Part of it will depend, of course, on how quickly you get that stuff submitted this week, and I'll take a look at it. I'll be grading early, so we'll get that stuff done. If you wrap up early, it is likely you'll have your final grade even before the class is over. So nonetheless, fantastic to work with you all. I hope our paths do cross again. Certainly, if you have anything that comes up this week or any time in the future, please feel free to reach out. Dr. J again. Have a fantastic week and have a great program.